Your host Mathias here with a guest and the normal boy,
John, the normal person.
and we got our
Uh,
other guest.
Indeed, I am Will. I am the guest on this particular episode, so my voice should be new, as I was created just for this program.
That's perfect. It's all working according to plan. So, welcome, Will. Glad to finally have you on here.
Honor to be here.
Yeah, it's been God. When's the last time we met and talked?
In the physical plane, well, it's been many moons, many months, I would say. I think the last time I saw you was probably not in this calendar year.
True. It was whenever your last day at GW was.
Yeah, that would be yeah. So for reference, I'm a former Games Workshop manager, not former for any nefarious reasons, just went on to do different things, and that is how I met both of you.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I must tell you that you are very missed at that GW store.
Well, that is very kind of you to say. Unfortunately, the feeling is, well, I was gonna say, I'm glad the GW store is there, and I'm glad where I am, and that's just fine. I imagine the store will continue to sell models to humans for years to come. I just may not be around.
Good answer. Good answer. Chicks in the mail from
For
GW.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right then. Well, we're just gonna jump right into the news. So, going on from the last time we were here, we were looking at the Death Guard, and we're just gonna quickly go through this because some of this is what we already thought is. So part three, we got Remorseless, basically unaffected by terrain. No, wait, combat attrition. Sorry, ignores all modifiers. So basically, the standard GW Space Marine thing, right? Isn't that what they shall know no fear kind of thing?
Yeah, just the same thing.
Kind of meh. I'm pretty sure all kind of Space Marines are gonna get this though.
One day, my friends, Games Workshop will get morale correctly in their games. One day.
Could an argument be made that morale has been gotten correctly in previous editions of their products, though?
Oh yeah. Warhammer Fantasy. I don't miss that game, but they got morale pretty well.
Why is Warhammer Fantasy's morale system so above and ahead the competition? Would you say?
I would say it was an integral part of the combat and how the game itself played, especially because you could do things like with proper positioning, destroy a unit without really killing any models and just or I mean you would kill some models, but you would wipe the unit because of the morale bonuses and flanking and all that. It was just I think it worked because it was really integral to the game. And as opposed to the current games where it's just kind of there, you know.
I think a lot of people would say, particularly when the first edition of Age of Sigmar came out, that like one of the things that was so different was like the loss of combat resolution and like morale in general was so meaningful to like the fiber of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, even in its final edition, which I think is not controversial to say was not its strongest.
I'm not too familiar. It's been a while since I played an AOS game.
Yeah, I mean, morale is not so different between AOS and 40k anymore, unless there's some big distinction I'm missing.
No.
Well, the combat attrition thing is the biggest difference. Where in 40k you could only ever lose one model from the initial check, but then
Oh,
you
you're
lose
right.
the other models. But other than that, like modifiers and how the first check is made is the same.
Anyway, long way of wrapping around to. It sounds like you guys think that one is no good.
It's not no good. It's just cute in my opinion.
I mean, it just makes the Death Guard a little bit more resilient, considering the next ability that we're gonna look at here. I think is their disgusting resilience that got changed, which I believe John you called correctly. It just got down to subtract 1 damage.
No, I called -1 to wound, which is way better than -1 damage.
Oh.
Now, I think -1 damage is good.
I disagree. I think the -1 to wound would have been way better.
Oh no, I'm saying -1 wound would have been way better, but I don't think -1 damage is terrible like a lot of people are saying. It's hard to tell honestly until we see it in action. But especially how how it interacts with all Plague Marines getting +1 wound.
It's a weaker ability than it was, but I think once we see like the full hand of cards that Death Guard will be playing with, it might make more sense based on how other things in the faction have changed. I mean, we know most of the info right now, but at least according to uh, our Death Guard buddy John, not Death Guard buddy John, that's not a guy, but we have a friend who plays Death Guard, and he was optimistic that even though discussing Resilient, in his opinion, and I think the opinion of many a Death Guard player is just worse now. That there might be other things that make up for it.
Well, this is definitely, gonna be great on the chaos, or not the chaos, their vehicles.
That's a great point.
Seeing how, at least the most will probably take from Alaskan is 5. But yeah, it's a shame. Well, no, I take it back. I'm glad they lost the original, because I hate fighting Death Guard and making them 5-up invul or feel no pain saves. It's the worst feeling ever.
It's an issue on top of the way the sort of attack sequence works anyway in Warhammer 40,000, because then it's yet another roll that can just invalidate everything that was rolled before it.
Mm-hmm.
You do your hit roll, you do your save roll, or you hit roll, your wound roll, your save roll, and then discussing Resilient, and it's like, why are we rolling dice at all?
Why are we playing? Why don't I just let you steamroll up here?
Set up the models and immediately put them back in the box.
Yeah.
That's why you play terrain, folks.
I don't know why I said box like backs. This is like backs like I'm from Baston. Hey, take
Based
my
again.
models, put them in the backs.
Well, this will definitely help with what we've seen with the Space Marines being able to get, damage 2 bolters onto some doctrines, and I mean, you'll be able to at least survive 1 round of that and whatever, and heavy bolters.
That's true. It's not like it has no application. Like it's definitely, it's not like you take damage for being a Death Guard or something. It's not just purely negative like previous versions of like the Tyrannid like Primal Instincts kind of rules, and that's not what it's called, but
Instinctive behavior.
Instinctive behavior. Thank you very much. This person knows their Tyranids.
He was a Tyrannid player at one point.
Yes.
Before he jumped ship to another army.
I mean, I was a Tyrannid player in my youth, but even then, I definitely don't think I could have outruled John.
John's the guy who buys an army, plays it for a little bit, and jumps to a next army.
And then goes back to an army that's playable in Horus Heresy.
It's just a vicious cycle for him.
Yep.
So overall, we'll have to see. We have to see how all the other armies play out as well to see how big of a nerf this will be. But the extra save that Disgusting Resilient used to be, it's definitely a huge nerf. But
if you roll 6s, then it's definitely a nerf because you're no longer invincible.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how the new damage 1 plays out.
Yeah.
And then we got the newest ability that everyone was speculating, Contagions of Nurgle. So it seems to be a aura ability. If I read this correct, it's been a while. And so it's the one that they're showing us here is being able to subtract 1 toughness from any enemy within a certain amount of inches, depending on the turn. So, you get up close enough, your bolters will be wounding Space Marines on 3s. Or, whatever, I was gonna say, close combat, but, no power sword's gonna get you strong enough to do that. But, Guardsmen, Eldar, Tyranids, the normal arms that are usually toughness 3, get close enough, you're wounding those guys on 2s. Even in combat.
Yeah, I see this more as a melee buff. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think the range increase is just one of those cute abilities. And when I say cute, I mean like it's good, but it's not like amazing. It's like, oh, it's cool, it's neat to have, right? But if I play Death Guard, I would just use this as like a melee buff. I wouldn't like do shenanigans of like, oh, I'm planning to be within 6 inches of turn 3, so my bolters are wounding on. It's more like, okay, I'm gonna shove my Blight Lord Terminators in your face, and you have -1 toughness, and that's how I'm gonna plan for it.
I think not from a rules perspective so much, but thematically, this is a super cool ability that like represents like even being in the presence of these warriors like is a problem. Like that is super cool, and the fact that it like increases in range as the game continues just sort of helps with a little bit of that cleanup and like makes the final rounds more lethal, which I think is really fun.
It also helps that, it doesn't have to be the unit shooting per se whose ability
That's
has to go
true.
on it. You just gotta get another unit nearby and they'll still be affected by it. It's a shame it doesn't stack though. That'd be amazing.
No, no, no.
Might be
Sure.
hard to balance.
True, but I mean, a toughness 2 space marine, it'd be pretty funny to see.
That is pretty hilarious with like skink toughness.
So
Skinks don't
overall,
have toughness, sir.
I'm sorry, what, John?
I said skinks don't have toughness.
They do not anymore, which is good for them. So they could not be affected by this. So
That's true.
Seraphon players do not have to worry about the Contagions of Nurgle Death Guard rule.
Absolutely right.
Oh, well,
Just not on their radar.
it's also just a Death Guard specific rule. So no souping on that, no giving it to the demons or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, every unit has the Death Guard ability, excluding unaligned. So I guess this doesn't affect like. So if you have plague bearers that have been summoned in, what happens?
If you summon in anything, they usually just get the generic demon rules.
Yes, I don't think you lose the ability, but they don't get anything.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I was curious about, because that would be just a terrible logistical nightmare. Of, like the plague caster summons the plague bearer, and the contagion lord is like, "What are you doing? We're gonna lose our ability. Did you not read the codex before the battle?"
Yeah, no. If you summon anything, you're okay. You just can't be like, you can't just have like a unit of Nurglings inside your army already. Like if they were a different detachment, that'd be fine. But if they're in the same detachment as the Death Guard, then you'd lose the ability.
Come on, Games Workshop, just make Nurglings the Stardies already. Like, everything needs that keyword, dude. then the game will be balanced.
I hate Nurglings so much.
Why would you say that?
Why would I say that? Because one, I fight a Death Guard player. I fight many Death Guard players, and they all run Nurglings. And as a Drukhari person who has a lot of poison weapons, those toughness 2 people are getting wounded on 4s. So I can't do anything, and yeah, we all know how good Cabalite warriors are in close combat. It's like throwing wet tissue paper at the wall. Okay, it's not good.
Which is shocking considering if you look at their armor. I mean, it looks like if they bump into you with their shoulder, they're gonna take your head from your shoulders. But
No, that's just for show.
They're very angular.
That's all plastic for their cosplay.
The fighting polygon team.
Yeah, we do not like Nurglings. They can all just go burn in a fire. That'd be great. But overall, so it's a adequate ability, we would say. This Contagions of Nurgle. It's cool to have, but you don't think we'll get much use out of it?
I mean, coming from the highly professional and unbiased opinion of someone who's never played Death Guard and hasn't fought a Death Guard player in not a 2v2 in like 3 years, definitely I can see that it's a rule that can exist. Probably advantageous.
I'd see it playing a big role in like the smaller maps.
Yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense.
Alright then, well that's all the Death Guard news that we got. Well, there's one more Death Guard news, but we'll get to that when we get to the FAQs. So Sunday preview. I'm just gonna quickly go over this because we already got all the news that we need on these. We got the Gork and Morka. Is that the right one? Orc. And we got who the hell is this guy? Saul Travitz model.
Why, it's Saul Tarvitz, the first loyalist. Do you not know about him, Matt?
He was in the. Oh god, I messed up the book last time. What was the book called? Flight of Eisenberg, something like that.
Hey, that was pretty close. Flight of the Heisenberg. No, it's Flight of the Eisenstein. Indeed,
Alright.
Saul Tarvitz is a fictional character that appears within this novel.
Yeah, well, last time I called it Flight of Eisenhorn. So
Eisenhorn does not have the ability to soar through the skies, but that would be the name of such a book in which he could.
yeah.
How do you feel about the Saul Tarvitz model, John?
I hate that model, and I love the model at the same time. So I love the model because it's a beautiful model. It is I kind of want to just paint it up, especially with the helmet on. It's super cool. I do hate it because the rules for this guy were released in 2013, and now he's getting a model.
It only took 7 years.
He has arrived a little bit too late, particularly because, as far as we know, that guy's big battle in Isfahan 3 is his last battle. He hasn't appeared in any other material that I know of. So it's kind of an odd post-mortem release of like, hey, it's the dude from the first, Horus Heresy Black Book. What's the name of that book again? I can't even remember.
Betrayal.
Betrayal, indeed, very fitting. He's a cool model. I think he is a little bit limited by his scale, which is a problem, maybe not a problem, depending on who you ask about. Like a lot of these non-Primaris Astartes miniatures, particularly the ones that aren't Terminators. But I mean, for what he's supposed to be, he's masterfully done.
Well, I'm sure John's gonna buy him and paint him up really nice for his good old Fulgrim Legion.
No, never happening.
You don't want to make Emperor's Children's? Come on.
I'll make him a Blood Angel somehow.
I mean, he's got the hair. He's just missing the abs.
Does have the hair.
He does have the hair.
Yeah. Well, we might as well just go to his book or his page that he got like 2 days ago. Is there anything fitting, anything new we should know about, or is it just giving us like the lore of him?
I think it's just reminding us he exists because it's been so long.
So long, all right.
Yeah.
Then I guess we could just skip over this part because there he is. He's right there. How do you guys feel about this? The Gorka Morka orc.
Gorzag and Nikit.
Yeah.
So Gorzag and Nikit are both amazing models and infuriating models. These guys are like some of the, particularly Gorzag, who's the orc. That is such a fantastic sculpt of an orc boy. I assume these are in plastic unless they've said otherwise. But also, he is so good that he retroactively makes orc boys and knobs look way worse. Like, this is such a great and characterful model, and for a faction that I'm not even particularly enamored with. Like, orcs are obviously a very important part of the setting. They're a big part of the backbone. I mean, they appear in all of the video games that aren't just, well, I guess they're not as present in every adaptation as they used to be. Now that we have things like Deathwing, where there's, I believe, no orcs at all, and Darktide doesn't have orcs either so far.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a killer sculpt of an army that could use a few more killer sculpts. Like for orc enthusiasts, I can see them getting this no problem, or just people who like painting up greenskins in general. But it would be great if this was like a portent of things to come. But for now, we've still got those orc boys from like 1999.
The good old hunchback orcs.
Yeah, the particularly the poses. They always look like they're squatting over, trying to maintain a powerful stance while visiting the lavatory. But this is a killer model.
They're just holding it in. All right. Knob said, hold it in.
Holding it in, waiting for a reimagining. How do you feel about Gorzag and Nickit, John?
I just don't care. I just don't have. I just don't care about orcs at all in 40k.
How could you?
I mean, if people want to play orcs, go ahead and play orcs, guys. But I do not care for orcs at the moment, unless something makes them cool.
Don't tell lies. Don't say at the moment. You've despised orcs for all time.
Yeah,
It cannot change.
Gaz is cool, and their lore is more like scary. That would be cool, but I kind of got over the comedy effect of orcs, so I'm just kind of like, okay, cool, orcs.
That's all they got. No,
yeah,
is the randomness.
I think this model does a good job of not being totally a joke. Like Nickit, yes, has like a ripped open bag of shells, but like he's a little giblin. Like it's not so bad. You can't expect much from him. But the actual like orc himself is just like threatening and intimidating enough, and like his physique to not be just a complete clown with a spiked helmet. But it's not going so far as like this could have easily been, an orc in a Santa hat, and like thankfully we've been spared that.
Very true.
Now we got the dwarf for that.
Are we talking about Bugmanson?
Yeah, Bugmanson.
I like Bugmanson. Maybe I missed this bit, but I think he's another model that like it does a pretty good job of like capturing what his faction is supposed to be without being a total cartoon character. Like yes, he's got a brew when he perhaps could be holding another axe, but like it's not like the. Do you guys remember the anniversary Grombrindle from a couple years back? It's like it's Grombrindle in Space Marine armor, and there's like a goblin in the cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the model that I looked at. Like, who is this for?
It's for all those people who want to collect stuff. Gotta have everything.
It's the mean old man in me, like looking at my neighbor's lawn and being like, I wish I could tell you to get off of your own lawn because I don't understand why a birthday cake Grombrindle must exist.
Well then, yeah, I don't have much opinion on this just because orcs is the army that broke me of when I wanted to just stop painting forever. So looking at this just disgusts me. But it is a cool model.
I think it's a cool release for people who aren't me. And it sounds like people who aren't John and Matt.
Absolutely.
That is accurate. My orcs will one day get continued to be painted. Probably just not this year or the coming year. But we'll see. Well, moving on, at the bottom of this Sunday preview, John said that there was a Sunday preview or Friday preview. What is coming on? Christmas Day preview. So I figured, what better way than to just talk about some predictions.
Are we gonna chat about the Advent rumor engine? Because I think they're gonna be revealing those models.
Is what you think they're gonna do? That entire thing?
Yeah,
I mean, we already got the reveal, but
a bunch of them.
Yes, typically, if previous years were anything to go by, like we should be seeing probably on either Christmas Day or the day after, we'll be seeing some sort of major reveal of like what is this Advent calendar talking about. I, for one, am thinking it's probably more than one range, but I could be wrong.
All right, well, if you guys think it's just gonna be the Advent, that's fine too. Let's go to, how about the new FAQ. Did you guys happen to see this? I know John saw this.
I'm looking at it now,
and
so
I know
I think the experts might take this one because I'm just seeing numbers and words.
I know. What is it? It was the Imperial armor. Isn't that
Yes.
right, John? We
The,
got
the big thing is Death Guard and Thousand Suns can now take the Chaos vehicles.
Yes. We can take the Chaos vehicles. Except for our dreadnoughts are still gonna cost us a CP.
Right, but so does everyone, so that's okay.
But all in all, I think that's pretty much it in terms of
Still,
news.
though, if it says here 222 data sheets, is that really right?
Yeah, in the Imperial Arbor Compendium.
Wow. That I guess you could probably qualify as a pretty major release if those. I mean, are there particular vehicles in those Imperial armor that are like highly sought after? You think in those kinds of lists?
Right now, it's hard because, especially for Space Marines and Chaos, they added this rule called Martial Legacy, where if you want to include essentially a 30k vehicle, you gotta spend a CP. So if you want to have a Leviathan or a Sicaran, you gotta spend 1 CP per unit you have in your army. So we're gonna see less spam of that. I don't
Yes.
think it's gonna be. They're gonna be useless. I still think you'll see one or two in big lists. But for other armies like Custodes, oh my gosh! Like, I mean, we've talked about this before. Like Custodes, most of their stuff is from Forge World, and most of their stuff is from this book. So a lot of it got buffed from before. So yeah, for armies like that, it's just like, man, knights as well. You got a lot of knights.
My poor 3 dreadnoughts, trash.
You just spend 3 CP, dude.
I'm not gonna spend 3 CP. Chaos already
Yeah,
has a hard enough time with CP right now, especially Thousand
That's
Suns. But yeah, that's the only big news that I wanted to really go over that I saw. I mean, I didn't really see anything for Space Marines or the Death Guard Watch. I mean, who really plays Death Watch as an army?
true.
No one really.
It's a fair question. I think it was that might have been in somebody's head, like that was going to be something that was going to be kind of along the lines of like Space Wolves and Dark Angels and Blood Angels. But I mean, Gene Stealer cults just so rapidly exploded out of like that double release that they were in. Kind of interesting. It's like Deathwatch lost their codex and then got a new one, and now they're independently their own thing. But I don't know many Deathwatch only people.
Yeah.
Oh, the only ones I know are the ones who play Kill Team. That's about it.
They're super cool in that. I think that's a place for them that really shows off, like not only like thematically, like how cool it is that it's like a small team of Space Marines who can do all these different things, but like gameplay wise, the fact that they've got different ammo types, it's so well suited to sort of smaller scale play like that.
Yeah. Well, that's where they shine up. Where they got all the special ammo.
That's where they can live.
All right, then we got model of the year. I don't know if any model of the year has inspired you guys for this. You got a model of the year, Will.
I there's a that's a hard one. Weirdly, it's a hard one because like there aren't that many miniatures that came out this year compared to previous years. I do think this is sort of an aside on model of the year. I think they should probably do a split between Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 for model of the year.
Mm.
This is not because I'm bitter that Marathi lost to the Noise Marine, but like it's also that it's somebody put it in a pretty good way on one of the Age of Sigmar forums that I go to, that like having model of the year be including everything Games Workshop makes is like saying like pick your favorite, we're going to vote for Marvel story of the year. You can pick from like the comic books, the novelizations, and the movies. Like the movies are going to win that one. Like that's one of those things that's just more popular than others. Like Warhammer 40,000 is just a bigger IP, so like the odds of the Necromunda things or the Middle Earth things or the Age of Sigmar things possibly beating 40k is just like they could probably have a model of the year with different categories.
So you think they should split it up? 3 categories?
I think there should be 3 categories, and it might even work out the way that you could say model of the year being like 40K model of the year, Age of Sigmar model of the year, and then either like an open category, or a Forge World category, because Forge World would probably like that.
Just say like box game. Yeah, would include
Yeah.
Necromunda, Warcry.
Specialist games, I guess
Yeah,
they could
there
call
you
it.
go, specialists.
I don't know.
Much
How do you
better
guys
word.
feel? How do you guys feel about that idea of splitting model of the year up?
I think it's a good idea because you made a good point. Well, I'm looking at the previous winners and it's all 40K models. It's also all chaos models, which is interesting.
Magnus,
And
Morty.
3 of them are character models.
Actually, it's all chaos space marine models.
It is.
3 of them are in Horus Heresy. Hell yeah.
I've got no problem with that. Like I'm glad those guys are the ones winning, but I do think things sort of get lost. Particularly the Noise Marine. I mean, that's not going to belabor the point on that one. I think that's an oddity of just having the public vote for it. Of the memes were more powerful than the many other sculpts that year. I think the Ideneth Eidolons also came out that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a bunch of other cool models came out that year that wasn't the Noise Marine.
Yeah. Abaddon, of course, is I think pretty well deserved, as are the other 2 Demon Primarchs. But what do you guys think for model of the year? Because I have a more complicated opinion, unfortunately.
Are you first, Matt? What did you vote for model of the year?
Oh, I mean, I just went over how much I hate them, but I'm gonna have to go with my boy Gazgul. The biggest war boss out there, because that model, perfection right there, and that's
fair.
That's how I see it work. But I mean, unfortunately for the AOS side, they really promoted the high elves, and I'm giving my thoughts on the high elves enough, and so they should never win, in my opinion. What about you, John?
For 40K, actually, so I actually voted for Lionel Johnson because that is an amazing model in my opinion. For model of the year.
Oh, you went Forge World, huh?
No, I hate Forge World. Too bad they make cool things, unfortunately. But yeah, I absolutely love the Lionel Johnson model. Now for 40K, I'm looking at the list. Blade Guard are up there, but that's just more of like, those are cool models, not necessarily like a crazy design. Either that or the Void Dragon. The Void Dragon, I would say, is a pretty damn well-made 40 like Star God. Definitely the essence of that.
On a technical level, that one is hard to beat.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about the Void Dragon.
It's not the Nightbringer.
It's not the Nightbringer, but model-wise, it does look very nice. I might change my answer. I kind of forgot about him.
I think there's something to your first instinct of Thraka. I mean, like, even though we all just sort of acknowledge that none of us are really the intended audience for that piece, that's the essential orc. And I think the reason that matters, aside from just being like he's the biggest and the best, which he is, like if you've never seen like an orc model before, it's the kind of thing that could like sell you on the concept of just like it's this big brutish like green cyborg monster, and like you can see he's got like his pants are ripped and stuff, and he's got like a skull affixed to his armor. It looks like he's got like motorcycle parts making out the exhaust. It's like it's janky, but it's also really threatening, like in a way that at least John, like we've read like the Horus Heresy novels. Have you read Horus Heresy as well, Matt?
Only the first 4 books.
Yeah, so even in those books, like they acknowledge like the orcs were a real threat at one point.
Yeah.
Like they're commonly sort of thought of as like a meme and a joke, but like there's a reason that they're so all over the place, despite the fact that they're such a problem. Like they're dangerous, and the fact that they, this is the war boss of war bosses, and it's so imposing while also still staying true to the spirit of the character. I see a lot of people saying that like Silent King it should be the model of the year over someone like Thraka, just because like that's a bigger, more like impressive display. But Thraka is also a remake, a remaster, if you will,
Hmm.
which means that he was kind of going up expectations of like, how is this going to top that model while still being effectively the same concept? Kind of like Abaddon from last year.
Yeah. Well, I
Right.
just put him up on screen, and yeah, this is such a beautiful model when it's painted well, which is probably why I'll never get it.
So modest.
Hey, you know, I know my limitations, and my limitations are not that good at painting. You know,
Man,
get
the only AOS release was the elves. I'm looking at this.
There's a few others. In fact,
Somewhat.
my AOS model of the year is sort of a weird one, but
Mine,
um,
the cow. Actually, that's a really cool model. Like it or not, like I think that's very well done. Just cow mountain monster.
there's a couple of standouts from that line. Light of Eltharion, I think, is really
Oh
quite a
yeah,
good piece. The hollow armor hero they have is not to be taken lightly. Like on a technical level, that's cool, but it's also not so overly complicated as maybe some of their other models sort of get in trouble with. That one is really something. It makes sense that they included him in that starter package for them, because that was a model that generated a lot of hype even for people who didn't care about elves.
mm,
So my 40K pick of the year is Thraka, for reasons I just soapboxed.
Oh,
Though
okay.
it was close, because I think this is a weird one, but I actually think Master Lazarus is an amazing model. It's the Dark Angel hero.
Master
It's sort of like a
Lazarus.
Dark Angel captain kind of model, and it's a weird one to pick that guy as opposed to like Blade Guard and a bunch of other great stuff we got. But it's such a solid quintessential Dark Angel mini. The fact that it has a couple like helmet options in there too
Oh
is really
crap, you're
cool.
right. It did. He did come out this year.
Yeah, he just snuck
That's
in,
our lovely.
but
I
I
have.
think that's a solid model.
Wasn't
Yeah.
he like at the start April? I mean February? Because I'm pretty sure I saw him at
Yeah, he was at the very
LVO.
beginning. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, he is really good, particularly even compared to like those solid Primaris Lieutenant miniatures that came out before him. Like if somebody told you that Lazarus was like Azrael's new model, it wouldn't be that mad. I mean, his sword's not appropriate, but like it's really very very solid work. Like for like a first captain that somebody would add to like their army, or if like they're just starting to get into it, it's really good. I don't know. How do you feel about that model, John, as a Dark Angel person?
I forgot he was out this year. I love that model. I have him. I have it in black and red.
Yeah,
Non
you
Dark
do.
Angel.
Real Dark Angels.
30K Dark Angels. And I
Yeah.
actually, so I think Lionel Johnson is very good, John, but I'm actually going to say I think the best 30K model of the year was the Inner Circle Knights.
Oh, those are super cool.
I think those guys push Terminators as far as Terminators can go. I think that is the level of detail is bordering on obscene. Like if they go any further, it'll just be too much. It'll be overcomplicated. But in terms of like trying to capture that old feel of the highly detailed, like sort of early 2000s, like Warhammer 40,000 artwork, like a lot of the Adrian Smith stuff, like from 5th edition. Those dudes look like they walked right out of the Codex illustrations. They're really killer, and I totally forgot they existed until like 24 hours ago. Yeah.
Wow, feel so
Bro,
left
for Age
out.
of Sigmar,
Only gave out like one model.
So for Age of Sigmar, I have a really weird choice. I think. So I think the best Age of Sigmar model that came out this year is the Fomaroid Crusher. The Fomaroid Crusher is
Do I even need to look this
Oh,
up?
the Warcry guy.
he is a little giant dude. It's a giant Cyclops dude. And I think the reason I think that model is so solid, despite the fact that it's not technically as impressive as basically anything else we listed, including Master Lazarus, arguably, it's such a simple design that really follows up on the promise of like it's a big brutish Cyclops monster thing that has a very restrained pose. It's a very effective silhouette. It's also because it's not a character model and it's not from like a specific chapter or legion or anything like that. If you look online, there's hundreds of different ways people have painted this thing, and there's a bunch of ways to do it well. It even has like multiple build options, which is sort of an interesting thing for a monster like that. Um, you see it in non-Warhammer related circles of people just painting them for RPGs or for D&D or whatever.
Mhm.
So it has a lot of like universal appeal beyond just being a big stompy critter. Like if you compare it to the Mega Gargant that came out this year, I actually think the Fomeroid Crusher is a better giant quote unquote model than those guys are.
Right.
Well,
Um,
I mean, no one wants to spend $150 on a model, so
this is a reasonable thing, but also if you paint the Fomeroid Crusher green and with orange hair, he's Blanca from Super Street Fighter.
let's get some electricity around me.
I'm sure Games Workshop intended this. No, I just think that model's amazing. I just think it just works. Sometimes you can have a simple silhouette and like a simple design, and it just doesn't suck.
Sometimes simplicity is the way to go.
Yep. True that.
Not everything needs to be super detailed.
Nah.
Well then, feel very left out. I only gave one model, but that's okay.
No, I mean you gave Thraka, right? Did you have any other ones like that would be like runner ups for 40K?
Oh no, not Thraka's. Well, okay, I mean Void Dragon, but other than that, those two would probably be my winners if I voted. I don't want to. Well, I guess for what is it? Age of Sigmar. What are they called? Flames is siren
Oh,
flames.
Science of the Flame. Those are great. They're very unique for sure.
Those are super cool. That is a solid choice.
Yeah, that would be my AOS option, just because they're not high elves. So, but I highly doubt they'll win. We all know it's gonna be something 40K. Hopefully, it's not another chaos model. Hopefully, we get something different.
I'm not sure what chaos models could it be.
Yeah, but it actually didn't get a Chaos Marine model this year.
I don't think we did. I think if I had to guess, it's gonna be the Void Dragon or Zarek, Silent King. Just on the nature of those are sort of the big Necron standouts this time.
That's true.
However, I think the most important miniature that came out this year is the Battle Sister Squad.
Yeah.
Even if only that squad came out for that faction, it was such a big thing of like Games Workshop, almost 2 years ago. And what was it, John? Like it was a while ago they
A
announced
while
that.
ago when they announced it, yeah, like, hey, Plastic Sisters are happening because we asked you guys.
Yeah, like Deepkin was announced at the same time. That's how long ago it was.
Yes, I remember.
And it finally happened. And like again, that's like with orcs. I keep defending these models that I don't actually like. But like with orcs, I mean, this was so important that these ladies got resculpted, and like just that squad alone, it's so technically competent. It's so correct. It's like what they're supposed to be. It's what most people who were fans of those always wanted, and hopefully it paid off for Games Workshop.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Blade Guard because it represents a hey Primaris can, because a lot of people were worried that Primaris were gonna be too sleek and like quote unquote modern sci-fi as opposed to like Gothic 40K, but Blade Guard and the Blade Guard Lieutenant and the Blade Guard Captain that they came out with kind of it's the designer saying, hey, yeah, we absolutely still can harken back to the Gothic aesthetic for Space Marines. I'm not saying that stuff like Phobos Infiltrators are not cool. I think they're dope. Like Eliminators, the tactical Marines, those are great. But having this the Space Knight in Primaris form, or the Space Knight trope is
Yeah.
You just gotta get your voice heard, yell enough, and they'll listen. They'll hear your voice.
Yes.
Yeah, the Space Knight thing is done really well with those models. It's a shame that it looks like their multi-kit didn't make it into the list. Not that it would have been a dark horse to place in the top 3 anyway, but those are great designs.
Well,
Yeah,
the multi-kit's
2021.
gotta come out first. The whole kit's gotta come out first.
Because nothing in Indominus was on the official list to vote for anyway, just because they just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, now that we've spent a good amount of time on this, shall we move on?
Yeah. What's next?
We got your Win Your Dream Army with the Warhammer app. I just kind of wanted to laugh at the app a little bit here because it's still in beta, and from what I'm gathering, it still doesn't work well. And
I mean, you have the Apple. What do you think?
Okay, so the Warhammer app, the Warhammer 40,000 app is interesting because Games Workshop has already, in my opinion, Games Workshop has already made an excellent app for one of their tabletop games. The Age of Sigmar app, I think, works like a dream. That thing has never let me down. It's always been what it's supposed to be. Quite a lot of the information on there is also free. You pay $1 a month for Azir. I think it's still $1 a month, and you get an excellent service. So the fact that the Warhammer 40,000 app did not launch with the same level of stability or functionality, I think, is a little bit of a disappointment. It's getting a lot better, but it took some doing.
Yeah.
Because the new edition came out in June, I say.
Yeah.
You talking about 9th edition?
Yeah.
August, I believe.
Was it that late?
Was it August? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more recent than that. I'm sure we could Google it to find out, but it's the app I think only recently has started to hit its stride of doing the things that it was supposed to do. The fact that the list builder took so long to come out, I think is a missed opportunity though. Like you said, Matt, it is still in beta.
I thought it was out of beta at this point. And I'm surprised to see that it's still in beta.
Oh, it's the army building is still in beta.
Yeah, the army builder just came out.
Well, I see that they're trying to bribe us to use it, as they say that now you can win an army by using this.
Yeah, and a free trial.
And a free trial.
3 month.
So I say it's pretty good incentive. I might test it out now, but I don't know. You saying it's good? Because I remember when it first came out, you had to be like, what was it? You had to be in Maine for it to work or something like that.
I mean, the great state of Maine. I'm sure in Portland, Maine, where there's a fine Games Workshop establishment, it was functional there. But it's I can't say it's an excellent app yet. It's just disappointing because the Age of Sigmar app is so good.
Right.
That's the biggest problem I have with the app is that if it was their first app, okay, fine, you're learning. But the fact that the $12 a year AOS app is so good, and this one is struggling, is just kind of like, I guess because the AOS app is simple, it's like army builder and then the PDFs for the war scrolls. I mean, because I know the 40k app has a lot of functionality they're trying to try, like click here for special, click here for keyword, click here for weapon profile.
It is more complicated. It does have to do more to succeed at the same level that the Age of Sigmar app does. So that's a fair concession.
Is this the same people that made this app? Made the AOS one? No.
Not sure.
It is not.
Oh, it's not. Oh, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I heard on some podcast or some forum post about people talking about it's not the same people.
Yeah. Well, there we go. That's probably why. Probably should have stole some notes from the AOS guys.
Or clone them.
Yaren's cloned them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would do it.
I mean, anything for a nice, smooth run, I'm sure they would have done it.
Oh, yeah.
The using the codex codes to get the info on the app though is a cool idea. Other companies have done that. Like I think there's something like that for Wizards of the Coast with like D&D Beyond. But that is a good idea.
Well, I mean, it's about time that they caught up to that, right?
Yeah. But then the question I have for you, Matt, is what is the army of the dreams that you would win?
I mean, I have so much plastic crack right now. I mean, what more can I get? What more do I want?
In the same boat. It's like,
I mean, the only armies I don't have is Tyranids, Imperial Guard. That's about it, and that's only because they're horde armies. I don't need to paint anymore. I've got a whole closet full of minis needing to get painted.
If only the Army of the Dream sweepstakes sent you like a little servitor that would build and clean the flash from your models for you,
Uh,
then maybe we could talk. But
I would make 1,000. What is it? A 2,000 or 1,000 point list or something?
That would if they had sent me a servitor to build all my models, that would be a dream come true.
that is the true Christmas miracle.
Because that's the one thing I don't like about the hobby is building. Controversial, I know.
No, I'm not crazy about it either. Because for me, building is like I need it to look right. I need the mold lines to be gone, and I need it to look like the model didn't dress itself in the dark, so I can paint it, with my middling ability to make it look okay. So I also wish the building would build itself. Like I have no problem with snap fit models because I can just like tear off the pegs and then like they look correct.
Oh, thank you. Another person who snaps.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the snap fit kind of thing because like I play the other big mini game I play Star Wars Legion, and those models are also monopose. And it's just way easier to like, okay, this arm is in this angle, holding the gun this way, and the key fits in, and you put glue in there, done. It's like, okay, thank goodness. You don't have to like fidget. I think I was building some gosh, it was the last plastic kit I got annoyed at. I think it was the Necron Triarch Praetorians and Lichguard. It's just like, especially the Praetorians, where they're holding a spear and you gotta align the arms and stuff. It's like, gosh, this is so annoying.
Yeah, 3-point contact is never very fun.
Yeah, unless it's keep, then it's fine.
Like it's nice that in Star Wars Legion, like Count Dooku's head is not connected to his toe and like his index finger, so like you can't screw up that badly. It's like, okay, here's cape, and then it plugs in, and you put on the head, and here you go.
And you're done.
Like it's not as dynamically posed, and it has no posability at all. But honestly, don't you just want the model to look good and like not hurt yourself and not need like a PhD in electrical engineering to build it?
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it all
man.
comes down to who wants to customize their models, right? You got those people who always want to put them in dynamic poses.
Sure, and there should be a place for that as well. And I think I can appreciate that the reason some people really have such a strong distaste for the snap fit models and like monopose stuff is it is much harder to convert some of them than previous things.
Yeah.
But also just if it's gonna have one pose and the pose is really awesome, like yeah, I'll take that.
Well, it's fun to bash on this and get some more insight on it. But let's go to the Advent, shall we? Now that we only got so much left, and thanks to Will here, we do know what it will look like. But let's just give out some guesses here. I really don't remember the last time we did anything. You remember where we left off, John?
I don't know, but
all right. Well, let's just go. Let's just go from the top up. All right, number 16. We got some kind of hammer thing.
Yeah, that's probably an AOS model.
So I think number 16 is friends with number 19. Personally, I think those are the same miniature.
Oh.
16 and 19. Here you go.
So 19 is the same kind of glove and same sort of cloth with like a rifle looks like over the shoulder. If this were to be some sort of like administorum thing, I could see that, but because it's so not ornate, I feel like it could also easily be like a Free Cities like witch hunter kind of character.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a Empire gunsman.
Because that hammer in what should it 16?
16.
That hammer in 16 is so simple.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like it has the sort of ostentatious stuff that like the Ministorum things in 40K would be, because that's what I've seen a lot of people saying that like, oh, this is it's another priest of battle or battle preacher, something involving warfare and the clergy.
Some kind of priest.
And I don't think it's that. I think it's an AOS model.
Well, I think we figured that.
But I think a lot of people think this is either heralding some sort of like vampire resurgence, and then also having like witch hunters return to AOS, because witch hunters are pretty prevalent in the lore, but at the moment have no miniatures at all.
That would be cool.
They actually recently lost their only witch hunter model in the last calendar year, so they may be thinking about doing something more with them.
Would be nice to have something back. Okay, how about number 21 here? We got a skull dagger. Probably looking at like a dark elf kind of thing. That's just my hopes and dreams.
Probably Underworld, the vampire guy.
Really?
Somebody pointed out that this is like a traditional style of like French duelists from like the 12th century or something. It could also just be a dude holding a dagger. But like it's again, it's a pretty simple looking dagger. Like I would imagine this could be some sort of like Underworlds thing. The question is whether it's elves or they're actually planning to do something with Soulblight / vampires. I could really see it going both ways.
Well,
And then today there was quite a surprising one as well.
Which one was that?
The Batwing thing.
Which number is it? 22?
I think it's 22.
Here it is, 22. Okay, so I see like a wing and a claw on a rock.
Yeah, and I think this is the fan theory of like vampires having a return makes a lot more sense looking at this. But also in the lore, like we know, like Malekith, now known as Malarian, like the Dark Elf, like the new Dark Elves have sort of a gargoyle kind of thing going on from their very brief appearance in the most recent story.
I had no idea about that.
It's at the end of the Broken Realms Marathi book. They talk about like sort of a shadowy winged figure showing up to basically be like, I could be a model someday. Make him formal introduction, like, hey, a miniature then appeared on the screen. Who was this miniature? Well, it hadn't been released yet.
Well, I know in the what are they calling whatever? I'm just gonna say Underworlds preview. I think in March, vampire counts were gonna be getting an army out of that. If I recall correctly.
That seems likely.
Well, I mean, every month is gonna be they're gonna show or release one of those armies for like the next 6 months or something like that. It's kind of crazy. So probably get more info on that. For all we know, that could be part of Underworlds. Next up we got number 20, some kind of crown. Kind of looks Night Hauntish. Going by Lady Olinar. Could be vampire.
It could also be an Imperial design too. A lot of people have pointed out the similarities to the Vermintide Bright Wizard character. Has this exact same design, almost the exact same design, like as like the back of her cowl. She's like a flame wizard. So this has a bunch of applications that it could be.
That would be cool to go back to the whole Empire or human resurgence in AOS.
Yeah, because I think it's an idea that would have some real merit. Of like, normal humans are cool. I mean, that's kind of why that new Warhammer 40,000 shooter is getting attention, because there's no Space Marines in that game.
Right. Yeah, well,
it's a cool thing.
Bring back Empire, get the Imperial Guard of the AOS world up and running.
Oh yeah.
Let's see, what else we got here? 22.
Number 12, people are saying is an old world model because the bottom looks like a square base. I think that's hogwash. I doubt that's a square base.
What a tinfoil hat. Really? Number 12?
Yeah, there's like a giant thread in the old world Facebook.
Oh, it could be a rock though.
Here we go. Our models are being announced finally. It's like, dude, like, that doesn't mean it's a square base.
Also, if it's a square base, it's strange that it has no texture paint upon it. This to me looks like a model that's on top of like a pillar or a rock or something.
Yeah.
Because if this were to be a square base, and that little space below the key and the rat's nose would have some sort of texture on it, you can also tell that it's really very, very little, whatever it is, because of the size of the paint strokes on it. Because of course, the heavy metal painters use like lasers and it paint at a subatomic level. So if those paint strokes are so big, then this is a really little guy. So no giant rat, unfortunately.
Maybe another rat swarm.
No, I mean he's a cool little rat. I like his keyblade. He looks like he's ready to go have some adventures.
Is that Mickey right there?
That's Mickey, dude. He figured it out.
I knew it. Number 17, we got a flag. It looks like not much information off here, other than it could
Clearly for
possibly
Tyranid.
be undead.
However, if you do look at the upper left portion of the flag, if you squint a little bit, you can see it's a happy face. They got the two eyes and the nose, and then the big grin. So I think that's the joyful return of vampires is clear with this one.
Oh. What else we got here? 14. Did we look at 14? We had not looked at 14.
That's 40k easily.
What, that little rebreather radio on him?
Yeah, that's probably the back.
No question.
No question, huh?
That it's a Lord of the Rings model. Gotcha.
It's the new steampunk Pippin.
Let's see. Number 18. You got like a little mace here. Some coils on this mace.
This one is a toss-up as to whether it's Age of Sigmar or not. The coil could be indicative of some sort of like a voltaic mechanical kind of a thing, but it could also just be a fun stick.
Just a little beat stick.
It'd just be like some metal banding on like some like witch hunter staff or something like that. But then again, it looks like it has a little almost whatever you call them, those little like bulb and lines on the power swords right to the left of that thing. So this could be a sci-fi one actually.
I believe that's it. I think number 11. Do we look at number 11's a wheel?
It's a wheel. I mean, vehicles coming.
Yeah, there
Cool.
we go. We got a bike. All right. Well, I think it's time we show the reveal. Thank you to Will for providing us with this information.
And thank you, of course, to the fellow on Twitter. His name is here we go. My computer crashed, so really, oh, there we go. No, Partik Hurtig is the human on Twitter who created this wonderful reveal, and I personally welcome our lizard overlords.
There we go. It's an interesting model. I didn't expect to see something like this, but I'm excited to see where they take this in the lore. I mean, are we saying this is? Well, I guess this is a Seraphim, right? So.
No.
Well, it's actually.
It's from Middle Earth, man.
Oh.
No, these are the Commodian wheel herders, and what they do is they take their pronged staff and they find wheels or other objects that like are gear-like in shape, and they herd them across the great plains of insert mortal realm here.
The great vast jump
Middle Earth.
Of Middle Earth.
Of Middle Earth.
Well then, that's all that. So typically, what we do after this, after all the news, we like to just talk about hobby life and whatever else we want to talk about until we end the show. So, Will, I heard that you finally got into 40k and actually started playing.
That's true. This edition turned out to be a good excuse for me to kind of start fresh and get into it. So I've been playing. I got Indominus for the Space Marine side, and turns out there's a reason that Space Marines are so popular. It's a great army to like learn with or like kind of relearn the game with. It's very forgiving as well. And the new edition, to me, like the mission setups, made it much more interesting. So I've had no major issues with it so far. I didn't play very much of 8th edition, which seems strange because I worked at a store where 8th edition was one of the primary things that kept the lights on. But aside from like knowing the rules at a basic level and able and having the knowledge to go look up in the book what I didn't understand, like this has been the first time in many years that I've been kind of playing like a hobbyist. Not for any particular reason, just because I was more inclined to do the fantasy games like Age of Sigmar before this.
Yeah, that's what shocked me when John told me you were in 40k. Of anything, I thought you'd be AOS.
I mean, I obviously really like AOS. Like my closet of shame has far more AOS than 40k at the moment. But it's also just nice to be able to play both sides of the pond.
Well, usually you play demons for that.
Indeed, I wish I could love a demon army enough to do that because it's the most economical option, not only just for money but for like my time of like only having to paint one force. But I cannot see having like a demon army. There's just none of the chaos gods have a range that perfectly is sort of up to date in that way.
Mhm.
Mostly it's like the demonic troopers I have issues with. I think bloodletters are in dire need of a resculpt, or I could see myself having a corn force.
Mm. Well, do you happen to do any hobbying? Play any games this week?
Did I? I actually haven't played a game in a couple weeks, but I've been really on a Warcry kick recently. I
Oh
was
yeah.
super excited about that. The new books that came out. Hopefully, gonna get a chance to read those soon. There's a lot to like about that game because even though it's not the most complex and perhaps doesn't have the most depth of the Games Workshop specialist games, it's so approachable. Like, yeah, I can paint 9 models to a decent standard, and you can paint them from like an army you wouldn't necessarily collect. So, like right now, I'm painting up a Beast of Chaos warband, so it's like Bestigors, Gores, Ungors, Bulgors, things like that. I don't know if I have the stamina or like the love of goatmen to do a whole force of that, but like I could definitely paint 9 of them.
Yeah, that's a horde army. It's been painting all that brown.
You gotta love goats way more than I do.
What about you,
Uh,
John? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, I was gonna literally ask the same question you did, so I've just wasted everyone's time. What are you doing, John?
So, the Mandalorian season just finished. So I've been at a Star Wars hype, so I just built a bunch of Legion models, and I'm getting ready to paint them.
Do you have the
I
Mandalorian in
built
your army?
some. No, he's not in the game yet.
How many Grogus you got?
None. I was thinking of buying the STL file of Grogu to print him out, but we'll see.
How many
Run him as
Gungas are in
run
your
him as
force?
battle droids.
It's an army of Grogus. Damn it.
No, I mean honestly, dude, Grogus are pretty solid. I mean, if you think about like their psychic powers are very useful in mass. You see a lot of people just using tons of them. There's that one soup list that has like Moff Gideon and Grand Moff Tarkin, and then something like 50 Grogus. It's a solid. I think it's called like the clone ultimatum or something. Clone consortium. It's in the FAQ.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's interesting. Now that Legion is under new leadership, they can do armies like that.
It's true. But yeah, just did that. Played some 40k played more Mechanicum games. No Grogu's in my Mechanicum list, unfortunately. All servitors, but it's interesting. They're very different from Space Marines. Because it's just having an army where the units are very different in terms of damage output, toughness, movement speed. Like Cataphront servitors and Skitarii are very different, despite being troop choices. So it's interesting relearning an army that's like that. So that's been fun. But probably gonna build up to 2K and then paint it up and then just go have one Star Wars.
Interesting.
What you Matt?
Me? Well, I had a very depressing game of 40k last week. It was pretty soul crushing, I must say. I brought out my Thousand Suns, classic Thousand Suns against Space Wolf. The hatred of two brothers. And I don't know. I feel like I have to retire Magnus after that game because
What happened?
that was so bad. So, Magnus, it's people who don't know, has a +2 to his psychic. Couldn't get a single spell off for like 2 turns. He didn't deny me or anything. I just couldn't roll the dice.
That is unfortunate.
And I just like, Smite goes off on a 5. And I can't roll a 5 on. Well, I can't roll a 6 on 2 dice. Because, Smite with someone else. And then the good old space doggies ride up on their wolves, and you can say goodbye to poor Magnus because he's gone. Then they go into my giant block of rubrics. They're gone. That was a unit of 20, just swept off the board. I got a unit of 10 Terminators. Deep strike them in. He's like a dog with like 1 wound left. Couldn't kill him. Couldn't make the charge. Watch poor Arimon get torn to bits by like a captain in the last doggo. And I was just like, you know what? I think that's game. This game. I'm just gonna surrender turn 3. It's over. Unit of 30 pink horrors. Horrible mistake. Shouldn't have brought that many. And I just packed up my dusty boys and never went back.
Is this an army you've struggled with before?
Well, you gotta remember, they have their updated rules in terms of Space Marines. So they're up there with their 2 wounds base unit, and I'm still stuck here with my 1 wound Marines here. Now, it was just tragic because I couldn't cast any spells. The only person getting any spells off was Arimon, and I couldn't get any of the other dangerous spells off. And that was part of it, and the other part was being, I took like 3 blob units. Unit of 20 rubrics, unit of 30 pink horrors, and a unit of 10 Terminators, which, if you know Space Marines, that's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty significant sink.
Yeah.
So, if not knowing any other rules that might come up for Thousand Suns, like if you had the same, if your troopers had the same amount of wounds as the Space Wolves, do you think that battle would have gone differently? Because it sounds like you just got mauled.
I think it would have gone differently.
That you got really unlucky on the dice rolls.
I think it would have gone differently, just because my guys wouldn't be dying to normal bolters, right? If they took a wound, I'd get 1 wound. I'd have 1 wound left. So the big blob. I mean, the problem is when the Thousand Suns do get their new book, the list is gonna have to change because everything's gonna go up in points.
True.
I think I equated it to like 2 points a wound or something, 2 to 3 points a wound. So that whole list is gonna have to get axed. But had I done that and not probably deep struck the pink horrors, probably could have gone differently. But it was just the fact that after I lost Magnus and not casting any spells and lost the rubrics in the center, I pretty much lost all the board control. That's what it came down to, was board control.
As it so often does in this edition. What mission were you playing?
Mission 5. I can't remember which. I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's the mission. This is 2,000 points, so it's the one with no man's land in the middle that you can capture. So I went with that mission, or we went with that mission. I went with the mission objective for that map, and yeah, didn't go well. But
did they outnumber you?
Yeah, I would say they did. Well, no. Hard to say. I think I outnumbered him, but not by much. Maybe like 10 more models.
Just because of that school bus of pink horrors?
Yeah. Gotta go. I just want the 90 shots with the pink horrors,
Sometimes the change of the ways giveth, and sometimes he taketh away. And you can't cast spells on a 5.
It's okay. Once the new codex comes out and Magnus gets that extra wound for being a Space Marine.
Oh yeah,
unstoppable.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. We also just built some terrain for our group because, as we all know, 9th edition is very terrain heavy, and we were just like really lacking on terrain here. Maybe we should build some more.
A good guideline I've heard is like, make sure each side could hide 80% of their army turn 1 after the enemy has moved. just so you won't get blasted for no reason without trying, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like what I've seen is like having enough terrain that like not so much that like your tanks and vehicles like couldn't move at all, but like there should be plenty of terrain and it should be significant in size.
Yeah.
Like it should feel a little bit congested in terms of like buildings near each other, and that seems to go pretty well.
Like an actual city.
Yeah, like in like an actual city.
But yeah, so we get to that. And then we'll probably, I don't know what we're going to do this week. I know we are going to meet, but who knows? Oh, I know we brought it up a little bit. But what are you guys' thoughts on the new game, the Dark Tide? Now that they showed some gameplay of it.
Kind of funny that it's a game where you're like you seem like a superhuman killing a million enemies, but you're not a space marine. So I thought that was kind of funny. I mean, it's cool. I'm pretty hyped for it. Having a good 40k shooter would be great. And I like the enemy variety, so I'm excited for it.
Just finding some poxbringers and renegade soldiers.
Yeah, it's a cool amount of enemy variety, and I like the starting lineup is sort of runs the gamut of like different imperial army things that can be. Like there's the Ministorum priest. She's super cool. I was pleasantly surprised to see there's also an Ogren. I'm not sure how he's gonna fit in those small passageways, but I'll make it work.
Yeah, they'll make it work. Don't worry about it. They'll bend the lore to their will.
It's cool too because I mean Fat Shark, who's the developer, even though I think there was a little bit of mixed reception on like some of their DLC practices or something in the second half of Vermintide 2, we already know they can make fun games. So it's not just some random hoo-ha, in his shack with Commodore 64.
Well, I mean, for those who don't know, I mean, it's basically like Left 4 Dead with a 40k skin on it.
Yeah, kind of what Vermintide was, but like if it's just that and it manages to be fun, I think if it doesn't also need to be innovative. Like if it fulfills its promises, like that'd be great. It's cool to have a shooter that's not Astartes.
Be the grunt warriors, the real heroes of the Imperium.
The everyday heroes, dude.
Hell no, they were not. They were not there the day the skies turned dark.
They were not because they were not old enough.
They'll get destroyed.
No one could be that one random guardsman that jumped in front of the Emperor. Bodyguards.
I hope they retcon him out of existence.
I mean, didn't that just happen?
Unclear, because the guy he's named after is still alive.
That's true.
Well then, unless you guys want to bring up something else, I think we'll call it right there.
I think that's it. I'm excited for the new, not new, but the reveal on Christmas Day.
Christmas Day,
Friday.
the real Christmas present.
The real Christmas present.
I mean, whatever it is, like it's just cool to have more models. Like we basically lose nothing by having more stuff.
Unless it's all Blood Bowl.
Yes.
Well, that is the true death of reason, but
no, that was brought to you by Krampus. Oh, naughty.
Like, unless it's like a Warhammer nativity scene or something that's just totally out of left field, like I would imagine whatever it is will be cool. I mean, even that, if they do it right, an army that's based around the nativity scene, well,
little baby M's.
Age of Sigmar, you can do almost anything. There's like a manger unit that they're all kind of like how Grogu floats in his baby carriage. It's got like pulsar cannons mounted to the sides. The 3 Wise Kings are like a character unit.
It'll be the Silent King, some Eldar, and I don't know who the Gazgul. There you go. All right then. Well, Will, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come and offer my totally anecdotal opinion on things.
Yeah, maybe we'll see you again.
Anytime. You're always welcome.
Well, you'll never see me again because I'm only a voice that's been disembodied and created for just this episode. But
yeah, true.
Maybe we'll extend the battery so you could be a next episode.
Dude, I would love to be on Frozen. That'd be great.
Reprogram it for the next podcast.
But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. And as I return to the long sleep, I'm grateful for my existence.
All right. Well, we'll see everyone next time. Oh, in the description, we'll post John's Instagram. Will, do you have anything you want to plug? People to find you, people to talk to you, or you want to just nah? All right.
As I am but a voice being recorded on a Discord server. So.
All right then. Well, until next time, guys. We'll see you then next week. Bye-bye.
Later, everyone.